We're huddling up on a Friday in the good land. Drew, Billy, and Armin bringing it to you. 920 Milwaukee, 1070 Madison, iHeartRadio app everywhere. And joining us now, a man who will be patrolling those airwaves, interwebs all over the place tonight. Badgers and Spartans. He'll be courtside. Woo! It's the voice of the Badgers, Matt Lepay. Hello, Matt. Thanks for joining us.
How's it going, boys?
We are landing gears
Always
down.
Better now.
Last half hour of the Friday show. You know how it is.
Happy hour starts at 8:01.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it probably will.
Except for you, you're working tonight, though. Except for you, yeah.
Well, for you
right,
guys,
yeah.
8:01.
Yeah, for us. Yeah. Yeah. I'm leaving for Mexico tomorrow morning. Billy's going to Florida on Sunday. Yeah, landing gears down.
It'll be a good time to be able to escape and get some warm weather. Now, Matt, before we get into tonight, because tonight's going to be a phenomenal one and what happened in Champaign, I feel like I'd be remiss to not ask you about last night before all of it. What a night for the premiere of A Road at Night, and how was it I know it was going to be impactful. It always is, but it just had to be such a culmination of a lot of time put together here in the efforts for Howard Moore.
Yeah, the people involved with it. Obviously, John Roach, who put the documentary together, and his team, Tim Valentine and George and Pamela Hamill, everybody involved with that. And there were a lot of Howard's teammates there last night. Actually, Howard was there. There was a reception before, so it was great to see him. And I know he was excited to see so many people, especially teammates and fellow coaches. And I've seen this documentary. I feel like close to a dozen times, and it just hits me hard every time. So if it hits me hard, imagine what it's like for Howard's family, his basketball family. They had the panel afterwards with Chris Conger, who was a teammate of Howard's and coached a long time himself, Greg Gard and Jarrell, Howard's son. And that's only, I think, the second time he has seen it on a big theater screen. So again, try to imagine what that is like for Jarrell, but he's such a poised young man, sophomore at Edgewood University here in Madison. But yeah, it's such an emotional documentary, but at the same time, you see a lot of great in people too, the way they pulled together, and the showings will continue with panels tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. And they're trying to run this thing beyond, as you guys know, beyond next Thursday, but want to be able to pack that theater over here, Marcus Theater, Point Cinema in Madison on Big Sky Drive. So more people that get in there, the better chances this could have an extended run. Maybe get in Milwaukee at some point, maybe get in Chicago at some point, and just build momentum, and the proceeds obviously helping the Moore family.
When we talked to Stan Van Gundy earlier this week, it was on Tuesday. He talked about just the impact, and beyond the impact on his teammates and the beloved and stuff, but the impact on the program, playing and being on the ground floor of when the ascension, and then recruiting guys that helped keep it going. And it's hard to imagine somebody having a bigger impact on the program than he did.
Yeah, as Stan said, nobody has, and I think he's right. And I love what Stan says in a documentary as well as a lot of interviews. We throw the word culture around a lot. Roster retention, it's great culture. Yeah, sure. But it could be overused, but I do think the basic standards of Wisconsin basketball and what it stands for has as much to do with Howard as anything. Guys like Michael Finley and Tracy Webster and Rashard Griffith. Howard was the Chicago area guys, as Howard is a Chicago guy, and had more than a little to do with bringing those guys into the fold. And Howard's a guy too who appreciates the history. When he was on the staff, there'd always be that back and forth with, it's old school, new school. And he'd talk about the guys, opponents even in the 80s, 90s, and, the current players because you could always, today's players are always more talented, right? They say might be more athletically gifted. I'm not going to say they're all always better basketball players. So there would always be that kind of playful back and forth, spirited back and forth. So I think he's just, as one of the pastors said in the movie, in the documentary, there are exceptional people, and then there's Howard. And I think that is as accurate a line as there is in the documentary.
Yes. Very well put.
All we have is the way people remember us and talk about us, and there's not one single bad word that's ever been said about Howard Moore. And like that ability to, you mentioned it with the culture, Drew, and guys, like being able to then go on after, you wonder how difficult that's been for the program. But I think like just in the relationship business, Matt, and how, transactional the sport is now, there's still spot for transformational. And there's a thought like, wow, the way that they've been able to dive into the portal of how being able to set a groundwork of it, but then welcome people into the brotherhood, that does get set by guys like Howard Moore. But Greg Gard has done a phenomenal job of being able to build off it. But you do wonder how much that loss in the short term did impact them into just what that locker room and that building was like.
Yeah, it is a, I think with regards to the portal, obviously you need skilled players and you have to compensate them, but they still try to get players who fit, fit into if they're here for 1 year or 2 or 3 or however many years. And the current team was in the theater last night. So it was the feeling was it was important for them to see it.
Yes.
And that's, they obviously have a rather big game tonight, but I think, the word perspective gets thrown around a lot too, but what defines a tough day or a tough stretch in sports, all anybody around here has to do is think about what Howard Sr. and Trennis, Howard's dad and mom, brother Darnell, obviously Jerome, what they're going through. In fact, Greg and I were talking, Greg Gard and I were talking, we were recording something Wednesday afternoon, and, there wasn't a whole lot of sleep for the coach. There's guys and thinking, oh, we're bad, kind of dragging today. And then we were talking about the documentary, and it's like, yeah, we're good. We're fine. First world issue here. We're fine. We'll get ready for we meaning them. They'll get ready for the next game.
For getting ready for tonight. Matt Lepay joining us, voice of the Badgers. Badgers play Michigan State tonight. Billy and I were talking this morning about Tom Izzo and how he went from public enemy number one. Now he's Unc. He's grandpa. He says,
I despised him for so many years.
And now it's like hard to hate him. And so that transformation is kind of funny. Like, and it's not just in Madison, it's nationally and throughout the Big Ten. Snoop-worthy. And then all these stories about Jeremy Fears for the Spartans being the new Brad Davison. I don't know if that's a compliment, a cut. I don't know how Davison takes that. The guy that opposing teams love to hate and the fan bases love to hate. What is he like? Grayson Allen meets Brad Davison meets
Big Ten version.
The guy who seems like he's been there for 10 years and that you hate. Like, what is the vibe with this Michigan State team?
Yeah, Fears is a sophomore too, and I think he's the latest. And I said this when Brad was here and other playing Grayson Allen at Duke. When he's on your team, you're going to love him, and when he's not on your team, you're not going to love him. It's going to be the opposite. But I think if you took an anonymous poll, say, do you want this guy, this guy, this guy? It'd be close to 100% in a second. Give me guys like that. Give me, they're different kind of players, Brad and obviously Grayson Allen and Jeremy Fears. He's a great assist player, like 9 assists a game. I mean, Fears he is a terrific player, but it's just it's the classic sports villain. And maybe you lean into it a little bit, but any coach in America right now, hey, Jeremy Fears, for whatever reason, he's a free agent after this year. You want him? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You take a guy like that.
Take the smoke.
And the other stuff, and I think what also can happen is if there are a couple things that are legit, that have gone on with Jeremy Fears. Tom Izzo's talked about it, but then everything, you can get every slappy in America on the phone doing the freeze frame of something that, his leg is a little awkward here because people have a lot of time on their hands apparently, and stuff can get a little can be taken, let's just say, a little touch out of context. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying there have been some over the line things with Jeremy Fears, but he's a hell of a player.
So you seem like Michigan State has had a lot of those guys, and I suppose that's the mark of a good program.
It starts with the head coach.
I know, and that's the mark of a good program.
Mateen Cleaves back in the day.
Mateen was tough. Drew Neitzel, a lot of these guys that would annoy you, but only because they beat you a lot.
It's because they're good. Like nobody rips on a guy because he sucks. It's like you have to be pretty good. It's the backhanded compliment, and it is interesting with Izzo, and I think the perception even over here has probably had at least something to do with the fact that Greg Gard and Tom Izzo have a terrific relationship. They'll talk during, obviously maybe not in the last couple of days, but during the season they'll connect. And Izzo was here for one of the Guarding Against Cancer galas. Matter of fact, I think it was last spring. He was here for that. And the Bo versus Izzo thing that had a little more spice to it, because they were playing high stakes games and trading punches. Literally, I mean, not in a figurative sense. They were ripping each other's hearts out with big wins and tough losses. And they've had those with Greg Gard, but it's just a different kind of a personal dynamic between those two guys. And I think Izzo's longevity, and he says a lot of things that a lot of other coaches would want to say.
But he can do it. Yeah.
Izzo's at a point where he's like, I want to say it, and you can like it, not like it, whatever. And when you've done it as long as he has, as well as he has, I think he's earned that respect.
He's got the license. Okay,
it's
so
impressive
Matt,
stuff.
A lot of wind in the sails after Illinois. This Badgers team now, to their credit, winning those games on the road, Michigan and Illinois, coming back, battling adversity, winning those games. What's it going to take for them to play from in front and not have to battle back in games against good teams? Because that's still the recipe that I like to see. And it's like, we laud the comebacks, but also like, hey, let's avoid those gaps. Yeah, let's avoid those gaps that put you in the hole.
It'd be nice to find out. Actually, in the Ohio State game, which is one of those games you could qualify as a comeback from 10 down, but I think it was like 15-5. So it was early.
Early on.
They played with the lead for the majority of that game, and it was in that 8 to 10, 12 range most of the time. But that does seem to be the exception. I thought one of the keys, and it sounds a little weird, because they didn't have a bad start against Illinois. They're with them. And then all of a sudden you look up, it's 39-30. They got behind a little later, as opposed to some of these bad starts like the Minnesota game, both times up there and down here. And, a couple of other games where they've looked like, this could be bad. But I think they're at a point now, they've just had so many close games. And if they fall behind, seeing is believing. They know they've done it. And I don't know if you want to do that against Michigan State necessarily, as well as the Spartans defend, but I think they know just chip away. And the way they play, you hit a couple threes, and those 10-point leads are 4-point leads. So I think there's enough confidence that if they get in that position, again, they know what it takes to get out of the mess.
The key is just don't put yourself in a position where 2 brutal calls by referees can cost you the game.
Exactly.
Amen. Don't allow that to finish it.
To be honest, going back to last week, I thought there were 2 or 3 calls before that were worse.
Mm-hmm. There were.
Really
Absolutely.
It's the 2 calls in the end were the 2 calls in the end. But again, Brad Underwood had some things to say. It is that time of year. I think people are getting a little more salty. The games seemingly carry more weight. But I do think, beyond last Saturday, the league's got to be better. They need to be better with officiating. I mean, you've got teams that are really good in this conference right now and are playing for you. You got the tiers in the Big Ten. And you got a lot of teams that are tournament worthy, and a handful of teams you think they might win the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So the quality of play in the Big Ten is good, really good. You need a little, if possible, if you could do it. I don't know how many guys are racing to the independent contractor employment line to go work basketball games, but I don't think it's a deep dark secret that the level of officiating needs to get better.
But then at some point, there needs to be a better training ground for them, right? Just like in the NFL, or for guys that play 4 to 5 years in the NFL, maybe make it a little bit quicker and easier for you to be on that stage where you know what the game's supposed to look like, you know what's supposed to feel like, instead of, hey, we really appreciate those 12 years that you played in the NBA, but let's go now officiate some middle school ball. Then we'll get up to JV, then we'll go to varsity, then we'll climb through the ranks, make it a little easier for them to be able to get to that point. It might get a little bit better for it.
And you wonder too, I don't know if we'll ever see it because they are independent contractors. You'll have officials working Big Ten games and they may be working Big 12 games later in the week or wherever.
2 years.
Yeah. Can they be full-time in your league? I think people would like to see that. I don't know whether we will. But it's just, it's every year. I mean, this is my 38th season doing this stuff. And for 38 years, I've heard this time of year, you start looking at how many games have these guys worked, and you'll see officials work 4-5 games a week. And it's not like
only
you got
that,
a 5-game homestand. You're all over
Yeah.
the place. So that's a little bit tough too.
the top guys, and I have a friend who's such a nerd, he tracks this stuff, but the top guys, you'll see them doing a Pac-12 game on, and then the next night they're in Miami. It's like, wait a minute. Like, that's just inhuman. They're not flying private, right? And it's like, this is in this, the logistics of and it's the same. A lot of times it's the same guys that you see. And it's like in big games on TV, it's like, well, he was just there last night. He was there the night before. Like, and of course they're going to miss some calls and they're going to be fried a little bit.
Armin knows this. I mean, Ken Palm, you can track it. There's their officials' ratings based on the quality of game they get. Armin's probably got all that right now. Like,
I do have Ken Palm, but
falls asleep with them.
It's
unbelievable.
The Ken Palm numbers for defensive efficiency keep getting better for the Badgers. That's a good sign. So little stuff like that you like to track. The official stuff, I mean,
Does Ken Palm do numbers on when the broadcast team has matching outfits on?
They don't have that one, but that's
a sabermetric they might need to work on. So you guys are locked in, right? You guys got everything coordinated for tonight, because you guys can't vary after that win.
Yeah, we're 1-0 when we look like twins, right? So as much as I could look like a guy who I'm looking up, a full foot taller than I am. So yeah, it's a big stripe out night too. So you got to get. Coordinated.
Let's go.
It's so important for the radio guys to be coordinated with the
stripe. It is. Yes, because we'll be watching. We'll be seeing you guys down there. How does your hand feel? Was that your hand that caught the brunt of that Brad Davison dap after the game?
Yeah, he was dapping us. Yeah, he got Butchie and I. It was right at the handshake line, and they were a little fired up, and it's like, well, okay. So yeah, I didn't have a lot of feeling there for about 3 or 4 hours, but Brad. He's a strong dude. He's fit, and he
caught you clean, and then there looked like there was a Butchie. You even dare slap me that hard, Brad? I'm gonna slap you upside the head after this. And I could tell there was a little bit of a pullback there on the Butchie one, but I'm proud that you took that for the program.
Well, I did anything I can.
Now that Billy's planted the seed, I have to watch to see if you and McCann and Butchie have the stripe out going in the three seats.
Come on,
there you go.
Courtside.
We'll wear stripes. How's that? We'll just come in referee shirts.
You'll probably be better than the ones on the floor. Let's say that.
Finish your shift at Foot Locker and then go to the Kohl Center. Amazing. Matt, have a great call tonight. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Take care. Enjoy your trips, guys. Take care.
You bet.
Thanks,
Matt
man.
Lepay, voice of the Badgers.